नन्दितमेदिनि विश्वविनोदी नन्दनुते गिरिवरविन्ध्यशिरोधिनिवासी विष्णुविलासी जिष्णुनुते ऐगिरिनन्दिनि नन्दितमेदिनि विश्वविनोदी नन्दनुते गिरिवरविन्ध्यशिरोधिनिवासी विष्णुविलासी जिष्णुनुते ऐगिरिनन्दिनि नन्दितमेदिनि विश्वविनोदी
To be honest, in my family, there were engineers, there were doctors, not many, and there were many more lawyers, many more, linguists and what have you. So I don't think that I even knew what is meant by being a scientist, let alone being a high energy physicist. So to some extent, doing science simply was a bit of an accident, bit of a natural continuation of the fact that I was a brilliant maths student. And if you want to, I will take a little bit of time to tell you the story, because I went to an all-girls school, and in that school, we didn't even study science till I was in 8th grade of school. So that means first we were studying home science. So actually, mind you, I studied a lot of things: how to keep house, how to preserve food, how to cook, how to sew, everything. But I had not studied science. But then what happened was that there used to be in those years, this is long back, we are talking of 1960 or maybe 1 or 2 years before that, give and take. And there used to be a state level scholarship, at which point from my school, nobody used to get it because there was one paper in science. And we had not studied science, and this was in 7th grade. We started saying science only in 8th grade. So nobody from my school would ever get it. And somehow some of my teachers, my maths teacher particularly, said, you are really good in maths. Maybe we should try to help you study some science. So it is these 3 teachers, I think, who took the trouble working with me and teaching me science on a weekend that first got me into science. So that was the beginning, as it were, okay? And then since we didn't have too many good science teachers in the school, obviously, because it was taught only for 4 years, one of my teachers said that she was my maths teacher. And she said, my husband teaches science. He was also a science teacher. He teaches at home. Maybe you should start coming to our house in the evening. And then he exposed me to the world of science. And then the real reason I think I'm here sitting and saying that I'm doing science is because I got something called the Science Talent Search Scholarship, which only requirement was that you should do pure science. You should not go to engineering or medical. And I never wanted to do either. But mind you, I wanted to do a PhD either in Sanskrit or mathematics. And it is by chance that I decided, very pragmatically, I thought that if I did mathematics, I won't have a job. If I do physics PhD, maybe I'll have a job. And in the end, I ended up doing theoretical physics, which is not all that different from mathematics, if you wish. I don't think I had a role model in science because I didn't know any scientists, almost. Or I didn't know what it is to do science. But I think I had role models to begin with in my own parents and my own mother, actually. Actually, both my mother and father in their own ways. And I'll tell you what it was. My mother, in fact, when she was married, she had only done 2nd year of college. And after the 3 daughters were born, all of us, she did her BA. Then my 4th sister was born. So there was a break. Then she did her MA. Then she was going on to do her PhD. At which point the teacher, my headmistress in my school said, look, she was a great dramatist and great linguist. So why are you doing a PhD? Please do BA. We would love to have you in our school. And my mother did her Bachelor's of Education the year I was in last year of BSc. So we went to college together. We studied together. I taught mathematics to my mother because she was, being a girl, her mathematics education had stopped when she was in 6th grade because there was no female teacher to teach mathematics at that time. So for me, this was the role model, okay? Somebody who knew that she wanted to do something and she achieved it, keeping at the same time fulfilling, which was great, of course. And I will come to it. It set me back a little bit because she was my ideal, and I thought that you had to work on all fronts equally effectively. But I realized that not all of us can be superwomen like she was. And I tell you, I realize it even more now with the lockdown. In the sense that here was a lady who absolutely was a perfect housewife, did all kinds of things at home, and then she was leading this very intellectually fulfilling life. And when she didn't have this job, she was doing many kind of intellectual activities all the time. And I think she was my role model. To begin with, I think this is just one of those euphemisms that you do. Of course, it's quite common that people, when they're young, the important thing is that one is bursting with enthusiasm. Also, one is not afraid to ask difficult questions. And therefore, very often, many important things people do before they're 30. But that doesn't mean that as you grow older, you don't do good work. Okay? In fact, it really depends on how the fire is burning inside you, that whether you continue to do good work. And it's a matter of chance. Doing good work, I find, it's a lot of hard work. But, I will tell you, according to me, what happens. Working or doing a scientific investigation, research, is like, walking. I like to think of it as walking on a seashore and sifting through the sand, looking at, do I have a diamond here somewhere, And you're looking at a piece of different grains of sands, and suddenly a light ray comes and you say, oh my God, I have found a diamond. So what I'm really trying to say is that chance plays a fair amount of, according to me, an important role. So the first question, I think, is just in my mind, it's an old age tale. There is a high chance that you will do very bright work when you are young, but that doesn't mean that you will do good work only when you are young. Now about people who take a break. I want to tell you a story of a woman. Her name is Evelyn C. I forget what the C stands for. Pielou. Pielou. And she is perhaps called very justifiably the mother of statistical ecology or mathematical ecology. She finished her BSc when she was 27. Part of it was because this was the period of the war. So she missed a few years. Then she got married. So by the time she worked on her PhD or work, she just worked, raising 3 children, essentially at home, but she had somebody who understood the fire, who understood her abilities, and gave her the appropriate support so she could apply for a PhD at the University of London. And she got her PhD at the age of 38, and she got a permanent job at the age of 42. And she ended up doing and fundamental work and formulating the mathematical subject that we know as mathematical and statistical ecology. So I rest my case. Okay? And all I would say, again, my answer is the same. If you really have the passion, your age or the place or the time when you're trying to get back to work into the field are just numbers. Your passion is the most important thing, and an idea that you want to implement. Perhaps if you just want to keep on doing routine work, then having had a break, having a break is never very good, okay? Particularly if you're an experimental physicist, because the instruments change. You may not even be able to learn the new instruments. But I think if you have the passion, if you have the desire, if you have an idea what you want to do, you can do it. Your age is just a number. And I like to think that that's really true. I think one of the things you have to do is develop confidence in yourself. And confidence is different. I mean, this has to be confidence based on, backed by results. That you have to judge your own actions, your own thoughts, and see what are your capabilities. And then, but once you have judged them correctly, because you are the only one who can judge them. So judge yourself correctly, but after having judged them, have confidence in yourself. And don't let others tell you what you can do and what you cannot. You have to decide that for yourself. You have to set your own goals. Set your goals with good thinking. But once you have set your goals, don't waver from them. And then I think the rest comes. The rest follows. Because the most important thing is being sure of aim. That helps you to, be a trailblazer. That helps you to lead. That helps you to charter and new paths.
Nandini Nandita